Hey Deckers, back again, it's Liam here. We've had a brand new stable update that has been released for the Steam Deck, although it's not quite the one that we've been waiting on. This is not SteamOS 3.5, but instead rather a lot of bug fixes that landed from all the recent beta versions, rolled out now for everyone. It includes fixes like the infamous bug where the Steam Deck would claim it couldn't reach the Steam servers after waking up from sleep, and that became quite a nuisance. Apart from all the bug fixing though, and there is quite a lot, it's mainly a big overall Steam client update that gave us that big fancy new overlay for desktop PCs and desktop mode on the Steam Deck as well. This has the notes feature and lets you pin things on top of the game so that you can still see it there in the background, which just has so many uses. Valve did say this update had a lot of work going on behind the scenes to bring the code together across the Steam Deck and the desktop so that they can work on features faster. We also now have the notes feature available on the Steam Deck overlay as well. This syncs across machines to your Steam account, which could be pretty useful. Although, honestly, I'm probably just going to forget it's even there on the Steam Deck. Will you be using it though? Let me know. One fix that they did forget to mention in the changelogs, as noted by Valve developer Pierre-Louis Griffet on Twitter, is that now when you actually remove a non-Steam game or app shortcut from all the random stuff you've been adding to the Steam Deck over time and trying out, it will now actually properly clean up after itself and remove all the related files like shader cache and compatibility data, which would previously just be left as other storage and confused a lot of people on why their other storage was just filling up. So it's one less issue to have to deal with going forward, but you will need to manually clean up any leftover from before the update. Taking a look at how the Steam Deck is doing sales-wise again, since my last news video, in the week between June 6 and June 13, the placement was static at number 3 after moving up from the week before. So it hadn't actually moved down or up at all, which was interesting since that was the ROG Ally release week. Jumping forward another week though, the Steam Deck has actually now moved down to number 6 globally. We can see why though. The new BattleBit Remastered has absolutely exploded onto the scene, and it is proving to be extremely popular. And while it works on Steam Deck right now, they are going to be switching at some point to Faceit anti-cheat for their official servers, so it probably will break in future, so keep that in mind. And we did also have the F1 2023 release on top of that as well. And big new releases will pretty much always bump down the deck a notch or two until things settle down again. And curiously though, even PUBG jumped a few places, so it seems like people are getting back into that one a little bit. And the reason I'm keeping an eye on it is just I want to see, even for my own personal curiosity here, how, if at all, the ROG Ally release actually affects the Steam Deck. But I'll keep an eye on it and I'll let you know how it's doing. If you're interested in those fancy full custom Steam Deck shells, Extreme Rate have now actually put theirs up to order and they are shipping right now for either $35.99 or $45.99 US dollars, depending on which model you go for. I'll say for the record, I'm not going to be doing this at all because replacing the front shell honestly just looks like such a nightmare. So many little things can go wrong. I even turned down an offer from JZox, who will also be doing their own, for them to send over their custom shell because I just don't want to do it. I don't want to screw up my Steam Deck and be without it for a while. Extreme Rate have a video up on their YouTube that I'm showing you a bit here now, and if you're patient enough and take your time, it's actually probably not too bad, but definitely worth a watch on their video if you're interested to see the full teardown and replacement. Because there are a lot of steps to go through and a lot of little connections and little things to keep an eye on. The backplate is easy enough from doing it myself a couple of times with the original JZox version, but the front plate just requires taking off so many things. For me, it's just not worth the hassle. I would rather just put a nice skin on it or put a protective case on it, but that's just me. Are you going to go for the full complete shell? Let me know. Another mod you can do for your Steam Deck is the Gulikit Anti-Drift Thumbsticks, and just like any other gamepad, the Steam Deck can and likely eventually will get drift. These replacement sticks help with that due to their special design, and their new version supports all models of the Steam Deck because Valve actually have 2 different sets of sticks that they put in the Steam Deck, and this newer design from Gulikit supports replacing both. And on top of that, the newer design also uses less power compared to their previous version, and it comes pre-assembled so there's no soldering needed, and it seems pretty great overall. Onto a bit of gaming news. While I have you here, I mentioned in a recent video how Smite now works because the developers worked with the community to get the anti-cheat supported. However, in my video, there was one thing that I actually got wrong, which was the controller support. So just to clarify, controller support does actually work when you're in a battle, but there is basically no controller support in the main menu, lobby, or God selection. So for that, you will need the touchscreen or mouse input from Steam Input, maybe on your right trackpad. So just keep in mind that it runs really well, it looks good on the Steam Deck, and the anti-cheat now works. It's just that their built-in controller support is only half there. It works in the battles, but not in any other menus, so use the touchscreen or set the right trackpad as a sort of mouse click. Next up, we have Valheim. It had a stable release that pulled in a whole bunch of performance improvements across the game, from just general performance updates to networking improvements, which should hopefully make the game as a whole run a lot better. But on top of that, they also now have a beta up that you can try that brings with it the world difficulty customization. So you can now tweak so many things like have no cost building, passive enemies, change the amount of raids, the death penalty, the combat difficulty, and more. Valheim is a truly great game. It is one of my absolute favourite co-op survival experiences. It's just that there are quite a few elements of it on the default settings that are quite brutal actually. So hopefully once this bigger update comes out of beta, more people will be able to play it. In a previous video, I also talked about the situation with Payday 2 because they dropped support for their native Linux version. Now, for the full story and my thoughts on Proton and native Linux support in general, I do suggest just going back and watching my video. But, as a little update for you, they have now said they do in fact plan to actually support the game in Proton, and they will be testing it with each update to ensure it does work. So that is good news for ongoing playability of Payday 2. Another game update for you is Factorio, because it now has official controller gamepad support available in the latest experimental releases from 1.1.83 onwards. To try it out, you can just go into the betas menu for Factorio in the properties and select at least 1.1.83. And while Factorio was actually playable before, this new official gamepad support that you can turn on in the in-game controls settings should just make it that little bit better. While Factorio was playable before, this new official gamepad support that you can turn on in the in-game control settings should just make it that little bit better. Having those proper icons on the screen for gamepad controls is just so much nicer and clearer. Factorio gets pretty complicated quite quickly as well, and there's a fair amount of keybinds to learn, so hopefully this actually makes it a bit easier for you. And not only is Factorio one of the most popular indie games around, it's actually one of the most popular games on Steam as a whole. It's number 55 of the most highly user-reviewed games on there of all time. So having it work even better on the Steam Deck is obviously fantastic. And finally, don't forget to go and check out Steam Next Fest. There are lots and lots of demos available to try out, and plenty of them work absolutely fine on Steam Deck. If you find any demo that you think is particularly amazing, be sure to comment and let me and everyone know. Not that I have much free time left, I'm already behind on videos for other games. Whoops. Steam Next Fest runs until June 26th, that is Monday next week, so you don't exactly have a lot of time to play all of those demos, so you better get going. That's it for today's news video. Thanks for coming along. As soon as I have more info on SteamOS 3.5 or if I see any more teasers, I'll let you know. Until then, be sure to comment and let me know what you've been playing lately and what you think to all the news, and I'll see you later.